Good morning, viewers, and welcome to Aunews on African Union Television weekend, Friday, 16th January 2026. My name is Kwasi Amankwah Agyekum. Coming up, Sevi Asupri to hold mass barrier for 7 community members calling road crash. Team Forjo accuses government of deliberate LGBTQ push in schools. National Security Task Force storms Trotro terminals to halt illegal fare hikes. Also, spare parts dealers deny price hikes amid transport shortages. Metro must receive more than 350 new buses in February 2026. Kushegu NP Al Hassan Tampoli hands over rebuilt girls' dormitory, expands scholarship skill, and LGBTQ curriculum row. Quality control failure, not timing, caused teacher manual controversy. Dr. Antipati. The details. The Seri Asopri community in the Bia West district of the Western North region is preparing to hold a mass burial for 7 residents who lost their lives in a tragic road accident earlier this month. The deceased, 6 elderly women and 1 man, with an average age of about 63, were all members of the community. Their final funeral rites are scheduled for January 22, 2026 at the Seri Asopri Community Center. The fatal accident occurred on January 7, 2026 at Sefi Kuma and involved a tricycle, popularly known as a buboya, and a timber truck. According to eyewitness accounts, the buboya, which was transporting the rider and 7 market women, collided head-on with the timber-laden truck that was traveling in the opposite direction. The truck was reportedly speeding, forcing the tricycle rider to swerve in an attempt to avoid a crash. Despite the evasive move, the truck allegedly rammed into the tricycle with devastating impact. 6 of the occupants died instantly after the buboya was completely mangled in the collision. 2 women who sustained critical injuries were rushed to the Esam Koko Clinic, where they remain on admission and are receiving intensive medical care. The incident has plunged the Sefi Asopri community into deep mourning, renewing concerns about road safety and speeding heavy-duty vehicles on roads. Former Deputy Minister of Education, Reverend Jonathan Forjo, has accused the government of deliberately introducing LGBTQ-related content into a teacher support manual and health, describing the move as a coordinated and calculated agenda. Speaking on Joy's top story on Thursday, January 15, Reverend Forjo claimed the inclusion of the content was not accidental, but part of a systematic effort by the government. All these introductions of LGBTQ into the teacher manual of the year through physical education and health is coordinated, orchestrated, and deliberate introduction by this government, he alleged. According to him, his initial concerns were brushed aside until he raised public alarm, which he said forced the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NACA, to hurriedly convene emergency meetings and issues a public statement. Forger noted that NACA later assured the public that contentious sections of the manual, particularly definitions relating to gender and gender identity, had been reviewed, corrected, and replaced with a revised version uploaded online. However, the challenge those assurances insisting that the revised manual still contains what he considers objectionable material. When you open the link, you realize that the definition of sex, sexuality, and sexual orientation is still here. Sexuality is described as a broad range of concepts related to sexual feelings, attractions, and behaviors towards other people, not necessarily the opposite sex. It includes sexual orientation, sexual behavior, and sexual identity, he stated. He further claimed that the review of pages 3 and 5 of the revised document reveals references to bodily autonomy and freedom from discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender, which he described as deeply troubling. The former deputy minister maintained that these elements contradict Ghanaian cultural values and called for the complete removal of what it views as inappropriate content from all educational support materials. Metro Mass Trans Limited MMTL says it expects to receive more than 350 new buses by the first week of February as part of efforts to expand services and ease pressure on heavily patronized intra-city routes in Accra. According to the company's head of communications, Mohammed Mubarak Ouattara, the buses are being procured under a government program aimed at stabilizing public transport, especially during peak hours when commuters experience long waiting times and congestion. He disclosed that in December 2025, the Minister of Transport deployed his deputy, Dr. Afotofe, to Egypt to inspect the Isuzu buses being acquired for MMTL. Speaking with newsmen Thursday, January 15, Mr. Ouattara said Metro Mass has restructured its operations to prioritize intra-city movement despite operating with a reduced fleet. He noted that some intercity services have been scaled down to redeploy buses to busy Accra corridors such as Adenta Accra, Kaneshi Kaswa Circle, Amasaman, and Nsawam, with operating hours on selected routes extended to meet rush hour demand. He explained that MMTL currently operates about 115 buses nationwide, far below what is required to fully serve all routes, making the focus on intra-city services necessary. Mr. Ouattara added that the delivery of the new buses was delayed after final inspections identified the need for additional specifications, but assured commuters that the first batch is expected by the end of January or at the latest the first week of February. The deliveries form part of a broader fleet renewal program announced in 2025 by Transport Minister Joseph Bukari Nikwe. The Member of Parliament for Gushegu Al-Hassan S. Tampuli has handed over a newly constructed girls' dormitory and an expanding dining hall to the Gushegu Senior High School, reaffirming his commitment to improving education infrastructure in the constituency. The facilities were officially presented during a brief ceremony attended by the school's headmaster and the Gushegu Municipal Director of Education. The projects were undertaken after a rainstorm destroyed the original girls' dormitory, forcing students to be temporarily housed in the dining hall. Mr. Tampuli explained that the dining hall had therefore been rebuilt and expanded to meet the school's growing needs, describing the intervention as critical to restoring normal academic life. He commended the contractors, Alidu, Sabitu, and Alhaji Star for delivering quality work on the dormitory and dining hall respectively. At the ceremony, the NP urged students to improve their academic performance, especially in final examinations, and announced an expansion of his scholarship scheme to cover 300 students this year, with application notices to be published soon. He also donated 100 bags of cement to support the completion of a premier fence wall to enhance security on the school's campus. Spare parts dealers in Abosu Ukai have dismissed claims that high prices of vehicle components are to blame for the shortage of public transport vehicles, insisting that prices have generally fallen and should not be linked to commuters' current hardships. The chairman of the Abosu Ukai Dealers Association, Frank Autry, said the appreciation of the cedi against the US dollar has led to noticeable reductions in spare parts prices. He explained that components for private vehicles, including Toyota Vitz cars commonly used by ride-hailing services, have been significant price drops. According to him, items such as engines, batteries, and engine oil are now selling far below their previous prices, stressing that there is no justification for claims of widespread price hikes in the market. Mr. Autry noted that the only major challenge relates to spare parts for Sprinter buses, which dominate public transport, and the importers and sellers of those vehicles. He commended the government for stabilizing the currency, saying the improved exchange rate has contributed to lower prices, even as public concern grows over the limited availability of commercial vehicles. Dr. Peter Antipate, Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, IFEST, has attributed the controversy over alleged LGBTQ-related content in senior high school teachers' manual to lapses in quality control rather than issues with timing, or political intent. Speaking to newsmen, he explained that teacher manuals are supposed to strictly reflect the approved curriculum, and any content outside it should have been identified and corrected during the review process. He stressed that given the sensitivity of sexuality and gender issues in Ghana, reviewers should have exercised greater caution and sought further consultation before approving such material. According to him, the presence of controversial definitions in a supplementary manual points to weaknesses in the curriculum review and quality assurance systems, not a deliberate agenda. Dr. Antipati argued that professional reviewers are trained to flag such discrepancies and ensure alignment with national values. His comments come amid political accusations by Asin South MP, Reverend John Ntim Fojo, who claims the government has covertly introduced LGBTQ ideology into schools through teacher manuals. The dispute centers on the year 2 physical education and health elective teacher manual developed in 2024. While Reverend Fojo has called for a recall of the materials, NACA has since directed teachers to return hard copies and is reviewing its internal processes. Dr. Antipati welcomed this move, saying the episode should serve as a lesson to strengthen quality control and prevent similar controversies in the future. National security operatives have launched a high-profile enforcement operation at major transport hubs in Accra to curb the growing practice of arbitrary fare increases by commercial drivers, a development that has placed an additional strain on commuters. The operation follows widespread complaints that some drivers have unilaterally increased fares, citing worsening traffic congestion and rising operational costs. On Thursday, January 15, 2026, a special national security task force was deployed to the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, one of the capital's busiest transport centers. According to newsmen, at least 5 operatives were observed monitoring passenger transactions and fare charges. Their presence produced immediate results. In one instance, a commercial vehicle charging fares above the officially gazetted rates was intercepted. The driver was ordered to revert to the approved fares before being allowed to continue the journey. Despite the crackdown, throttle operators argue that the current fare structure no longer reflects realities on the ground. Drivers on routes such as Circle Dummy say prolonged traffic congestion, sometimes lasting 2 to 3 hours, has drastically reduced the number of daily trips they can make. Of late, the traffic has been worrying. We can't be stuck for hours. If we don't increase the prices, we lose. One conductor explained, adding that some increases were sanctioned by station masters. With the security operation has provided short-term relief for commuters, deeper challenges persist within the transport sector. The Concerned Drivers Association has renewed calls for the dismissal of the transport minister, accusing authorities of failing to implement long-promised transport and special master.
Increase the price, it goes against us. It's rather from above, you see, from our masters. Yeah. So whatever the master will say is what we also go about it. As well as you could also know that the right of late, the traffic has been worrying. We could be in the traffic for almost 2-3 hours. So if we did not increase the price, it goes against us too. That is the reason why we do that. Absolutely nothing else more. Buyer, absolutely nothing else more. It's rather from above, you see, from our masters. Yeah. So whatever the master will say is what we also go about it. As well as you could also know that the right of
Before we go to top stories again, Sevi Asopri to hold mass burial for 7 community members killed in road crash. Interior Ministry proposes 25% sentence reduction for productive inmates. National Security Task Force storms Trotro terminals to halt illegal fare hikes. Abosokan spare parts dealers deny price hikes amid transport shortages. Metro must to receive more than 350 new buses in February 2026. Bushegu MP Alhassan Tampuli hands over rebuilt girls' dormitory, expands its scholarship scheme, and LGBTQ curriculum row, quality control failure, not timing, caused teacher manual controversy. Antipati. That ends African Union Television News. Friday morning. Sports is up next. Ike wins. My name is Kwasi Amankwah. Stay with us.